today's session, or our last session of the 3 sessions that we had today, it's gonna be we're gonna deal with literature reviews in practice. Our speakers will be Hayla Murray and Kirna. Um, Hayla is the faculty librarian at the faculty of theology. She's responsible for digital literacy and information teaching and rendering services, research services to the students and staff. Kirchner is the manager of the Cornell Research Commons. The Research Commons is a space for postgraduate students from master's level and upwards. It is conducive for focused study and provides on-hand support from dedicated staff. The support extends to all master's and PhD students who need assistance with the referencing and reference managers, technical formatting of thesis and dissertation, and more. This is our last session of the day. Um, Moreover, we've got more sessions during the course of the week. Yeah, let me hand over to you, colleagues, and we start the session.
Kirchner, you can start.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. Today is also kind of a new concept of what we're going to try and do, and try and do a bit of a hands-on approach on how to extract the necessary information from the literature and then how to synthesize it. You will have all received...
email.
Please make sure that you are muted as well. And yeah, so what we are planning on doing is I've also attached in the email I sent to all of you shortly before we started is a Excel spreadsheet that we call the literature synthesis table. I also want to share some PDFs with you, articles with you, but I'm having some trouble accessing it. I'm just waiting for it to reach me via email. But Hayla will take you on the first step, and that is just to go over some of the basics of how to find relevant information again. And then we'll carry on from there. Okay, so over to you, Hayla.
Thank you, Kirchner. As you've heard, I'm the faculty librarian at Faculty of Theology, and there I am responsible for all the staff, students, and researchers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to do the basics of how to search for information. Okay. You may interrupt me at any time if you do have any questions or you don't understand. So let's go back to the basics of how we search for information. So for most of you, this will be your landing page, which will be library.sun.ac.za. And then you will see that there is a general do a library search space. And then, but if you want to search for specific material, you can go to find, search and find. Yeah.
Your screen isn't sharing.
Screen is not sharing. Okay, let me just see quickly. Okay, can you see my screen now? Not
yet. Here we go. It's loading. There we go.
Am I up? Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So apologies for that. Let me start again. Okay. When you're on library.sun.ac.za, you click on Find. Your next stop is Search and Find. And then you'll come here. So I'm going to do a basic search for you in terms of how to get there. So the first step is usually to look at your keywords. So if I look at keywords, say our research is about reconciliation and South Africa. So you need information on that. So your keyword will be reconciliation and South Africa. So you can choose everything where you basically will get everything there is available. If you're only looking for articles, you can choose articles. You can choose books. And there are other options as our e-databases where you can also search for articles. So I'm just going now to do a quick search for reconciliation and South Africa. So you will see I've put an asterisk at the end of South Africa. That means you will find Southern Africa, South African, all those variants. So if I click on Find, this is what I get. This is my result. Now, from here, the next step for you is to think of your framework, think of your own research, your research problem. What are you aiming to? The questions, the research questions, the secondary questions. What is your research about? And it's not about the keywords only. Now, the next step, as we're dealing with literature review, which is also part of your thesis, you have to sort of say what is relevant to my research, what is not relevant. So basically you have three choices. Yes, it will help me. Maybe I need to look at the methodology or the bibliography or the researcher's results. And no is a right, we're not going there. So those three options will always, should always be with you. So now the next step, which you can do, you can decide, I want only material from a certain date. Now I would pick here, say, let's do since 2020. Okay, then you can refine and you will see I only have one result. So what happens here now is I only have one result and the book is still to be being made available. So now I go back to my original search. As you've seen now, 2020 is not going to work. Let's go back to 1994, which is 1994. 1994. I do my refine again. I've got 52 results. Now, for your relevance check, you're going to basically have to look, okay, this is a dissertation. That's a book. This is the Truth and the Reconciliation, the fundamental documents. What type of material I have here? So here I have a full text book. So those are the ones you can also see. So what I can do is to say, click on it, and that is where you're going to decide yes, maybe, or no, by looking at these keywords and the description and the contents. So that is the first step of a literature review, to actually look what is available, who is writing, who are the voices in the debate, how do we look at it. So all of these, which is here, are possible keywords from which you can search from. And as we are also speaking about the thematic analysis, or the thematic review process, these are the type of themes you might also pick up. Okay, so if I go back, I saw that the book is more or less, looks like I can use it. There's Post-Apartheid, it's a 2008. The one thing you might also think about now is dates. So if I'm working in science, probably the last 10 to 5 years material. If you work sociology, social sciences, art, humanities, it depends on your topic and what you're researching in terms of dates. So there you can use some material for historical purposes, but it's totally up to you what you want to use within your scope of your research. So here you can see I have 52 results in terms of books. Now I'm going to change this back to articles, and I'm going to search for articles. And there I have only 10 results. So this is now a case of, should I change my keywords? Should I search differently? Look at what is available. So basically, this is how you're going to search for your material. You will find that over here we have your peer-reviewed articles, which we only use for research. There's also open access possibilities for research. That means freely available. So are there any questions thus far? This is just a basic overview. Now, if you want to look at research already done by other people to get some extra literature, you can look at the dissertations. And then over here, somehow we found 141 result, social cohesion. It is a dissertation from 2016 and it's Department of Political Science. So what you basically will do to maybe look at the dissertation, and again, there is possibilities of research or themes that you can be looking at. If you want to look into the thesis itself, then you can go right into the actual thesis and have a look at the research problem, the research questions, the rationale, and then you can have a look at anything that he has, maybe the definition of social cohesion or reconciliations definition, everything related to that, transformation, and then you get to, you see page 106 is the bibliography. And then what do? We do right to the bottom, and that is where the good stuff is. So if you are a researcher, the process I'm following now is called the snowball process. So I start with a source that's mostly look like where I am, and then I go to say the thesis, and I see what kind of sources did the person use. And that might help me to get other material for my research. So social cohesion, social justice, it's big themes currently in South Africa in terms of where we are. And yes, South Africa as a people. So you're going to see voices, transformation, social virtues. So here is all kinds of material you can have a look at, and it's also has some methodology books that you might have a look at. Okay, so that is when I look at my thesis. There's an article. Then you can look, there's one from one of my researchers, from Professor Dirkie Smit. It's actual, I think it is an article. Let me just have a look there. Okay. Hope. Okay, so that one is not available. So that you're going to find sometimes it's not available there. So you will need to have another place. There's an article by Professor Koopman. There's the other material. So these are always, you can look at finding material. I can do another search just to give you an idea of how you will be able to find more information. So I'm going to show you what happens if we do everything. Let me say youth and unemployment. And I stick to everything, basically everything. I've got 21,308 results. How can I limit this? I go to the left-hand side and I say, okay, I'm mostly looking for books and articles right now. Then I can say, okay, there's my databases. If I have a general author, there's journal titles, and on the subject. The subject field is the most, or the best place to focus more on where you are. So I'm looking youth, economic conditions, young adult, teenagers. Young adults and teenagers are basically the same group. They might differ in ages. And then you can have a look at topics. There's one, unemployment, maybe look at the social sciences. Okay, let's see, women, poverty. What do I do when I'm done? I apply my filters, and I'm from 21,000 down to 7,500. So that's how you focus from the, if you have too many results, you focus more by adding this, and there's your filters, which you can take away at any time. So the left-hand side, definitely very useful if you're looking for a specific. Down here, there you can see in which library it's available, and you can even change the language if you wish to. So any article, this one is a 2021, Youth and Unemployment, Our Present Problem and a Missed Opportunity. Let's see what it says. Now, when you choose to download an article, preferably do the PDF, which will give you an opportunity to file it on your EndNote 21 list, your PDF list. So this is how do I look for relevance. You basically read what a bit of the introduction and look at what's on there, what is the debate going on, and the notes. Just a quick note about notes and footnotes. Sometimes the best resources can be found there, so have a look at that as well. And then there you've got references cited, which you can have a look at as well. So that's the one article there. Are there any questions at this stage? If I'm too fast, please stop me. Okay, so now I've got 7,000. Now I want to say and Africa. I'm still sticking to everything. Then I say, okay, on this run, I only need articles. You change it to articles. Then you can have a look at what's written all over. In research at the moment, a lot of what's going on the continent of Africa is very important for South Africa as well. So yes, there's a lot of authors that's written from Ghana, from the DRC, from all over the world, all over Africa, Kenya, you name them. They are actually writing about Africa and what is happening there. So whenever you do research in Africa, it sometimes is a good idea to look at the bigger picture of South Africa on the African continent. And this is the way you're going to get those material. You will be able to pick up journals with articles in. This is Youth Unemployment South Africa, Theological Lens Through the Lens of Human Dignity. In theology, we speak a lot about human dignity, social dignity. We speak about all those three topics on how people are treated within youth unemployment, say the human dignity is gone. So youth unemployment, here you've got an Fumba Kamba, political instability and youth and unemployment sub-Saharan Africa. You can use this type of article for benchmarking in terms of what's happening elsewhere, as to related to your research. So here is all kinds of interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary material, not only from your own discipline. So this is one of the ways you can look for material on the subject. If I now change it from articles to books and other items, and what happens then, I've got 67 results. And here we are. Now, the greatest things for researchers at the moment, and everybody doing research and studying, is ebooks. So ebooks is one way of having access to material, and we do subscribe to a lot of ebooks and e-resources. So on an ebook, you basically go through to the actual ebook online. Just waiting for our system. Okay. Education and Youth Unemployment, David Lamb. Then we go to, now first before I open the book, you look at, okay, these are my authors. These are the subjects. This is a basic description of what it is. And this study was done by the University of Cape Town. And the date is 2008. Okay, so then I look at my full text. There's an abstract. So when you look for material, each database, each online journal has got their own layout, and you must just familiarize you with where the PDF is to be downloaded. So you can view and open. Okay, so Southern Africa Labour and Development Research Unit. There's our authors. There's a working paper. And then your introduction will tell you what the article is about and what's in here. And then while you're reading, you actually starting to get an idea of what's, when we look at the relevance of research for an analysis of what's in there, the content of what is coming out of here. So, and the most important thing for us as researchers, the question should always be not, what is right, what is wrong? Research is about the voices and the ways of looking at what's happening in our world. So yes, every voice is valid. If you say something is not valid for you, you might have a good reason for that. So yeah, you can see all kinds of materials. So if I quickly go down, I still got some data, secondary data. You can use this for secondary data. And there's a research unit, University of Cape Town. When you can use even these diagrams. So I am just going to go up a little bit. And there is your references. So this will also give you a good idea of what is out there. Okay, so colleagues, are there any questions related now to how we search? Any questions at this moment? I can do one if you ask me to. Should I give you a moment?
It looks like the questions, Hela, that were there, they were straight answered questions. For example, the one that I don't know who is my librarian or who's my faculty librarian, and then faculty librarians managed to provide the answers regarding that. For example, Magini managed to provide the details, and also Kirchner managed to give the link to to the faculty librarians and the LibGuides. So whoever that haven't seen that, please go to the chat box. You will definitely see some information that you might be in need of. So basically, at the current moment, those are the questions that were there. Then we managed to tackle them. Thanks.
That's a good thing. A good tip for all of those online at the moment: make use of the faculty librarian services. Each one has got dedicated topics and subjects and departments. I've got the whole Faculty of Theology, and they will know where the good articles is, what is trending, what is happening. They are the ones that will be your guiding light always, even from the start of your research, your lit review. Always they will be there. And we are, most of us, we're available through email. If you request a team session, we do an online team session for you with searching for you. So make use of all the librarians, and let us know if you are having a difficult question, you can't find sources, or you can't find the right methodology. Let us know. Let us actually help. Okay, so if there are no questions at this stage, I'm going to give back to Kichner for his part. Thank you. Thank you, Sungesu.
All right. Yes. I just see your request now, Zandile. Unfortunately, we won't be able to go through the search again. We are recording all our sessions, so you will be able to look at this from next week. Once we have finished with the whole week, we will upload all our sessions to our YouTube channel, and we will then share the link as well. Also, Zandile, you can also reach out to your faculty librarian if you don't want to wait till next week. I posted a link in the chat just a little bit upwards where you can go and find out who your faculty librarian is, and they will also be able to guide you on how to do searches on the SU homepage. Okay, so now the first step that I want to carry on with now, Haila, I just want to mention that email still didn't come through. I think there was something went hitchy there. So
okay, I'll try again.
I did a search. I found some other articles on mixed methods research that I figured we could use.
Okay.
So just so you all know, I haven't looked at these articles at all, so I'm going to depend on you in this next practical session to really give some good insights on them. So I shared them, or I loaded them all up on my Google Drive. So if you click on this link, you will be able to access the articles. I'm going to divide you all now into 12 groups. Now, there are 12 articles. Now, depending in which group you fall, if you are in group 1, you take article 1. If you're in group 7, you take article 7. That's what's basically it boils down to. And what I want you to do is take the literature synthesis table that I shared with you just before we started the session today. You can see it here. And I just want to make sure everybody is muted. And yes, so you'll see basically we've got our topics here broken down. We've got our author, we've got a year, we've got a title, we've got a purpose of the study, we've got a method or experiment, a sample or design, we've got the findings, and we've got then go based on that. Once we've done an initial reading, a closer reading will give us some themes, some similarities that we can compare with other articles, but this way we'll do afterwards. What I want you to do in the next 20 minutes when I break, when you are all in your groups, is to identify these elements for me. Now, the topics are more a discussion on research methodologies and specifically mixed methods methodology. So there won't necessarily be an experiment, but there might be an approach or an interpretation. So this is also flexible. There also won't be necessarily be a sample or a design. Be open to how you would interpret it and what information you would add there that you would think would still be relevant for the literature review. So don't just look at the headings at the top and just assume that is exactly what you need to extract. Be flexible in the type of study that you're going to do, and keep this in mind, obviously, then for when you do your own section or when you do your own research going forward. Okay, so yes, I'm going to split you all up now. 12 groups, as I said. If you have any issues, please message me directly if you're not accessing the folder or anything like that. Okay, so the rooms have been created. I would suggest that one person in each group do the writing in the literature synthesis table, and the others assist in breaking down the necessary parts. Alrighty, so I'm going to open them now. So you'll be joining all the different groups. So yes, let's say till about 3 o'clock. I'll add a 5-minute break after that. So for those of you who want an additional 5 minutes, so I will recontinue the session at 5 minutes past 3. Kayla?
Ja, ek is hierso.
So, I'm just giving them a bit more time. There was some
Okay.
complications in some of the groups.
Okay, okay. Kirchner, are we about ready to start again?
Yeah, I think so. I've only received 2 of the um, synthesis tables, but I'm going to close the rooms now.
Okay.
Okay, I think everybody should be back now. We're significantly less than we were when we broke out into the groups. Um, those of you who are still busy with the synthesis tables, you can just send me what you have. We just want to take the core ideas and so on for the next step in our exercise. The sources did vary. They weren't all structured according to how the literature synthesis table is laid out. Some were editorials, for instance, but all of them did have conclusions, for instance, where the editorial, where that person gives what they consider kind of like their key piece of advice that they want to give. And that is something we could put under the findings, for instance. Method and experiment could, for all practical purposes, in an editorial be left open. It doesn't have to be added there. Design also, I mean, you could just put editorial there. That would make it easy for you to know, for instance, okay, this is what this kind of source was. So these are all things to keep in mind as you are working, is that the sources do vary, and that you shouldn't always necessarily compare apples with oranges. So if you do find a study that really went in depth in a methodological approach and did take a sample and actually have concrete findings, and they have a very strong opinion, and then somebody writes an editorial where they disagree with those findings, obviously the person in the editorial who wrote that editorial will have to either conduct their own study to support their opinion, or they will you will have to assume that this is just an opinion and doesn't carry the same weight as that would necessarily, but it might offer a different perspective still. So it's still worth including in a literature review, if that makes sense to you. Okay, so I've got one extra there.
While Kirchner is doing the tables, just as to comment on Kirchner's, what he just said, your literature will give you a multitude of options and ways of seeing and ways of understanding, and it's your job as a researcher to make sense of it. What does it mean? What's the impact for your research question? What's the impact for your research? How will that impact your data when you're actually doing the research, getting the data together? So it is about really thinking of what is my research questions, what do I need to achieve? And that will guide you in the synthesis at the end. Back to you, Kirchner.
Yeah, I think that's essentially it to consider. So The next phase, basically, I think, Kayla, I could hand over to you. I don't know if you would have enough information here, but it's only 3 sources now. We could perhaps ask for some inputs from some of the group members for some additional topics. But if we were to write something now for the literature review, how would we synthesize the different aspects here?
Okay, I would think you would look at the thematic themes that you basically have discovered through your reading. Either the abstract usually will give you the method, the topic, the results, the research questions. It will give you in the abstract. And then it will be discussed, and your conclusion will probably give you more information on other possible results, reviews, or future research. So when you have all these themes on your table, your next step could be just to look at it and sort of sort them into groups, speaking, say, to the verification of your results. Or is there a theoretical underpinning in terms of your topic? Or are we looking at some contextual issues in terms of where people are and their experiences? So try to get actual common threads between certain themes and try to group them. Say, I would use the example on a smaller study, not necessarily a thesis, but get 3 big groups. And then you have a 1.1, a 1.2, a 1.3, and under each of 1.1.1, 1.1.2, and 1.1.3 to group your themes and see what the literature says about it. And then take the cue from what you found. The interesting thing with research usually is it gets a life of its own. You might have the best intentions in terms of, I'm going to answer this research question, this secondary question, and I'm going to see if I can have some kind of solution or a way forward from this. But once you start working with your literature can tell you sometimes, no, this is not the way we're going. This is the new way. And that's why research is always exciting. It's covering new information, new ways of thinking. So don't be scared if your themes and your initial results on the themes looks different than you intended to. The research tends to sort of shape what's out there, how things are done. So it is not a bad thing necessarily. And you can actually state in your research that you went out with question A, but the research literature review said, no, we need to move to question B. What is the actual focus? So that's part of your process. So if you start writing, you have basically 2 choices. You can start from a very broad view, as we did with youth unemployment, and then you can narrow it down. Say, we're already narrowing it down to Africa, the continent of Africa and the countries, and then you come to South Africa. It's a more narrow focus, and your next focus could be the Western Cape or the Eastern Cape. And then you can say, okay, within this general area, and then you can also say, okay, we need to look at, say, what is the non-government organizations doing in this community? So that's from the broader perspective down to the more focused where your research is. But if you find that at the start of your literature review, you're getting not so much information, so it's then you turn the triangle back at the base is below, and then you work your way up to the bigger themes. So if I look at, let's say,
Leila,
yes.
I just want to make sure, is there slides that you want to share while you're explaining the final approach, or just
No, I
discussing
don't.
at the moment?
I'm just discussing at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't have slides, but it's an upside down. The one is the upside down where the larger base is on top, and the focus up to the larger area, the larger topics would be, say, from, say, the Western Cape to South Africa, and then to on yeah. Thank you, Kirchner. So that's basically your way you're going to look. So sometimes you'll get articles that's very big and all over the place, and then you work it down until you get to your own topic. So, and then when you start, the way your themes come out within your lit review could be an indication as to how your chapters will look in terms of content. So your themes can dictate what's the content. Chapters will then be able to discuss any subdivisions from that, any extra information, and explaining as to why this was found in your literature review. So the themes also can give you an indication as to when you're doing focus groups or interviews for your actual data collection, that you need to ask certain questions, and it will allow you to frame your questionnaire so that you will be able to get the data you need for your research. So that is also where your theme review will help you. The other, you can also use your themes to look at the historical development of certain ideas, say from 1990, 2000, 2010, 20, up to now. What has changed within the concept of, let's say, social justice. So social justice 20 years back was not so big. Currently, it's a big, big issue. So, and then also with it goes social injustices. So these ideas develop over time. They've got different meanings. So that's also a way that you can actually track how the ideas are changing over time. The funnel approach is a good way just to sort of frame your research in terms of where it is going, and then you can work on that specific issues. Are there any questions? Anybody wants to speak up or any comments? Even if you have a question and you think it's not important, somebody else might just need the information. Is there anybody? You can just unmute and ask a question for me and Kirchner.
There is one in the chat box, Hela. It's
let me just see. Okay, there is, can you adapt the C synthesis for books, textbooks? How would you go about? I would say you can go about the same way. Books and textbooks actually are also very good sources for literature and information. So you probably would be able, there's Kirchner changing it, you've still got an author. So the author is always important to know where he comes from. Is he a good author? What does he write about? What's his research? And then the purpose of the chapter. Then you can say, okay, the method might have been explained in the chapter or the research at that time, mixed methodology, or it was a systematic review. The sampled, the type of approach, each and every study in research, there's usually similarities and differences and a million ways how to do it, a million ways how to approach it. So each and every author will have a particular way of doing it, and that can help you in your own study, but also understand their information, which is on there, and how they got to that point. So in my work at the Faculty of Theology, our student uses material and textbooks, and I tell them first read the introduction to the book to understand what the authors intend to do with the information in the book. And there you get usually a lot of cues and ideas of what's going to happen within the chapters. And from there, you will probably look at the first few paragraphs of a chapter as to where is this going? What is this about? What is the viewpoints? Are there 2 or 3 viewpoints, theories, methods? So you can basically take the chapter within the context of the book, and then just look at it, because in a book, at the end of a chapter, there's always, most of the times, either footnotes or a bibliography. So that's also a good way to get an idea of what was the author's starting point and what's the theoretical base, and how are they looking, how are they interpreting what they are doing and making sense. I hope I could answer that question, Ms. Badenhorst. Any other questions?
So we still have some time left. So I just want to do a bit of the funnel approach using this information that I've pulled here, and just some general kind of observations that I've made from which all of you have drawn. I'm just going to use Word here. Let's go center. Let's make the text large, not that large. Okay, so general observation. I mean, a general notion about mixed methods is that it is some form of combination of qualitative and quantitative research. Going a bit specific, some of the criticism that's picked up is that there isn't or there aren't enough guidelines about how it should be applied in practice. And that there isn't enough guidance available. And another observation that was made was that, and this is something that I also picked up in an article that I was having a look at, and you could actually, just as this person wrote it, is that qual plus quan does not necessarily equal mixed methods research. And then the most important finding from some of the ones that I picked up and what I scanned through as well, and your own findings, is that for a truly successful mixed methods study, and I'm not bothering with the dash or not dash here everywhere, I'm just writing now, mixed methods study, what is of great importance is the integration between the two approaches. So it's not even about the findings. The findings of a qualitative study and of a quantitative study might differ, but if you just put the findings of the one and the other together in your findings, but you don't integrate them in some way and kind of try to analyze and figure out why there's this disparity between the qualitative and the quantitative, then there's no real integration of the study. Then it's more a parallel study that was done, one quantitative, one qualitative. So that's the broad finding. And I mean, if we were to now we've got these thought concepts here that we could now take further and write into, if we were to write it into a piece of literature for the literature review. I'm just going to open another Word document. I'm moving that to my other side because it's a bit tricky for me, but maybe it would actually be better if I split it like this. And we're just going to zoom out. And I'm not going to do proper citing and referencing here because there's no time for that. But remember that is fundamentally important, that wherever you are using somebody else's ideas, remember just to give them the appropriate credit. So I'm just going to say, according to the sources, mixed methods research consists of a combination of qualitative and quantitative research methodologies. However, the general consensus, and yeah, a lot of the language that you use and so on, and so it just comes with practice and a lot of the reading. You will eventually learn how to really apply kind of like academic speak, if I could put it like that. Consensus is that there are not enough guidelines and or guidance on how to appropriately apply mixed methods in practice. So now I'm just going to specifically Creamer, and I don't have a year here now. There we go, 2018. Further makes an important distinction between parallel and mixed studies, with the former being with the former being quantitative qualitative studies running in tandem, and the latter where the two methodologies show some form of integration. And then, okay, so that's basically what the literature says. And then in a nutshell, that's what I've put here, or I have here. If I were to take it now further, if you were to use your own words, and this is a good place where to continue to a next paragraph, for instance, would be, okay, so if I were to think of this now, running tandem with and the latter, where the two methodologies shows some form of integration. This integration is essential to a successful mixed method study, in that it shows an understanding of the findings of both the qualitative and quantitative approaches or results, even if they were to contradict one another, and so on. So this is now just purely out of my mind and based on articles that we've also only looked at this afternoon. But this is basically the steps that you would take. Is you would go through your reading, the articles that you have, put that information down into the literature synthesis table that we have here. You will obviously have a lot more than 30 minutes to do this properly. I would, as I do in the general literature review session that I mentioned, is that you start with skim reading, and then Once you've identified the important articles, that's when you go into the in-depth reading of the necessary ones. But as you're reading this, you take out the little tidbits, you put them to paper here as thoughts. You don't worry about structure. You don't worry about comprehensive sentences and so on. And then basically from this point on, you put it onto paper in an appropriate academic writing style. And that's, yeah, that's in a nutshell how I would say a good practical approach would be to doing a literature review. And this is a very, very basic example. I know it gets a lot more complex and a lot more complicated as well. Right, are there any questions on this demonstration?
Kichner, while we still have time, it is also important when you are a researcher, work with your supervisor, your study leader, in terms of how do they need your writing to be, and what they want to see from you. Obviously, they want to see some integration with other sources. Does your writing actually show that you can take all these viewpoints, all these articles, and let them debate and discuss and put them opposite in one another in terms of what is the viewpoint? Is it different? Is it the same? Does he have actually a good reason why he says this? Can he explain it? So it's a constant debate between the voices in your literature. And then coming to a point where you as the researcher says, I've looked at everything that is here, what I found, and you're not saying it's something is right or wrong, but you want your opinion is based on this person for the following reasons. So that's how you're going to validate that I have chosen this path or this way to look at it based on on certain articles which I've read. And that is what study leaders and examiners want to see in your research, that you actually read, that you interpret, that you make sense of it, that you apply it to your own context. You might have a theory or a statement that somebody made in, say, 2015, as if it's applicable to everything. And now in 2024, you can look back and say, okay, the statement was made, but further research indicated this, and your experience is that. And therefore, you sort of differ from that stance. So anytime you have to include this debate in terms of what they say, how they say it, and why they say it. It is a very tricky thing to do, because you're confronted with a lot of other views that might be different from yours or your experience. But just the mere fact that they are there and that they are stating and protocols and whatever, it means that research is there. There's progress at the end of the day, and we are mostly within research. We are following in the footsteps of those that went before us. So for you to get a better understanding, maybe, or a better knowledge base, or be able to change someone's life or give more meaning to a problem, that is your process. So yes, it's not easy, but it's a journey which you will discover more than you ever knew is available. Okay, Kichner, that was my last words of wisdom now. If are there any others that wants to add a word or add a question? Well, nobody is volunteering. Just
Hi.
yes, yes, you can continue.
I wanted to ask on the literature table. Is it the thesis literature table?
Yeah.
The other side where you're talking of themes, similarities. It's like you'll be comparing the different literatures or comments made by other people and try to find the uniqueness of each.
Yes, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
so
you
that which is like those final four columns will only be filled once you do an in-depth reading of the chosen article. So the first couple of ones, the first couple of columns is mostly outlined for if you're doing a brief, quick reading to see what are the core aspects of each article or each source that you are consulting. After you've done that, there are some sources that you might realize, wait, this isn't relevant, so you're going to leave them out. And once you've then determined, okay, these are the articles that I want to actually read, and you're going to do an in-depth reading of them, that is where you're then going to start identifying themes. You're going to recognize, wait, this specific topic keeps popping up in the articles. This concern, this issue, this disagreement. Those would be your themes. Similarities would be, for instance, like the argument that not all mixed method studies are necessarily shows that integration. Maybe that's a similarity that appears, and you could then, for instance, say, okay, wait, Creamer and Terrell. So let's say Terrell agrees, and then you could say, okay, have a look at Terrell's argument article. Terrell's argument is similar. You would say something like that. Because then when you actually get to writing your literature review, you would know that Creamer and Terrell they belong together. You would then be able to say, okay, these two have this arguments. It would be good to have the page numbers ready, especially if you have some direct quotes that you want to use. But then uniqueness, I mean, an editorial doesn't necessarily have uniqueness. There might be a unique perspective. So from this article, for instance, this is the article that I looked at, and where I said this specific phrase. No, now I copied way too much there. Let's see if I can copy that text again. Let's see if it works. Yeah, this qual plus quant is not always mixed methods. Is something that I found that might come through in other articles, but not as pertinent as that, almost like a formula that this person put out. Data quality, I mean, data quality is not going to be available for all of these, especially if it's an editorial. There is no data. There has to be kind of like an experiment or a method, and there has to be a sample that was taken for that. But these are more the subjective fields. This is where your own opinion comes in kind of as well, where the uniqueness, the similarity, and the overall quality of the article and so on is where you would put these in. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
No, and there was just a little bit on also about paragraph writing and the types of techniques on how to structure a paragraph. The one there was the Peel technique. I would recommend looking that up. It's good guiding, some guiding information on how to structure your paragraphs during the writing process. As with a chapter, as with a book, as with an article that has basically an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, even a paragraph has got a starting point, like a middle point that's got the supporting evidence for your starting statement, and then almost a concluding or linking sentence that links to the next paragraph. This isn't a fixed rule. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility in the writing. But it's a good way at least to get you going.
Okay, I hope everybody that's still with us that we could help you in some way understanding how to better do your literature review. But yeah, you're always welcome. Please contact your faculty librarian. We have superpowers that not everybody knows about, and one of it is we know our subjects and our research disciplines. So the best way to start off is to make an appointment and learn and get to know your faculty librarian. They will set you up with a start and where to start from. We usually know all the good books and the best place and the best authors and what you can do. And it gets critical when you're doing transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary research. Then you actually need some assistance as to where to still find other sources. But you're welcome to contact me. I am at the Theology Library or any of our faculty librarians. I hope you have a good afternoon further, and I'll ask Songesu just to end the session for us.
Okay, thank you so much, Heila and Kirna. Really appreciate what an informative session. We really appreciate it. Now, this takes us to the end of the today's session. So as we go with the research week, tomorrow we've got another 3 sessions that will be from 9 to 3:15, but it will be, of course, at different sessions under the theme of Let's Excel in Research Strategies. Then Thursday, we still have another 3 sessions. Also, will be ending at 3 with the different sessions under the theme of Let's Utilize Tools for Research. Then on Friday, we've got also these different sessions, including the panel discussion. Then the theme for Friday will be Let's Strive for Research Excellency in the face of adversity. So thank you so much, colleagues. Really appreciating on behalf of the library, Stellenbosch Library. We really appreciate your time and giving us an opportunity to be able to indulge more on these themes. I think everyone will get to learn 1 or 2 things on this. And thank you so much from our colleagues as well for presenting the well-prepared and informative sessions. Appreciate a lot. Thank you.